Om Shri Guru Raghavendra Namaha. Okay, so let me share the plan for today. Swami is coming, he should be here in a minute. We'll get this session started. Shri JnaanaSamgama is also going to be here, he's on his way. We will have a morning talk session for roughly, I would say, an hour 15 minutes in total. And then we'll have a panel discussion. There are stick pads and note and these cards that we can circulate to the audience, and you can write down your questions. We will have the panel here, Father Eddington, Rabbi Brill, Meeraji, JnaanaSamgama, and of course Swamiji on the stage here. And then you could ask the panel any questions you have, and I'm sure they'll answer to the best of their ability. So that panel discussion, we'll see, depending on the number of questions, will be a bit flexible on the time we allocate for that. And as I said yesterday, I'll try to avoid, I'll try to summarize duplicate questions or anything that has a common theme, so that even the panelists can find it a bit easy to address the message of the question. After that, there'll be, we'll go to the main temple hall, we'll have Aarti, and then followed by Prasada. If everything goes well, we do aim to have the session wrapped up by, I would say 12:45. We should have everything wrapped up by then. So just hold on for a few minutes. It's a good time to reflect. I would say close your eyes and do some meditation for 5 minutes. Silence is always difficult. I've heard some folks have to continuously speak. So silence is always a virtue, and it's sometimes difficult. So I would say use this as an opportunity for 5-10 minutes. Close your eyes and meditate on your choices, saint, seer, God, whatever you want to call it. Krishna Arpanamastu. If it was a longer session, I myself have taken a meditation class here, but for now I'll just leave it for you to sit and take care of it. Probably good to greet him. On the flip side, we were a bit disrespectful to you, so sorry for that. Apologies.
I know. I thought I knew who it was. That it was Pandit Govindacharya, and I thought of interrupting my own speech to acknowledge him in that way. But then I wasn't absolutely sure. And so I kind of went on a bit. No offense.
Thank you. The other one is actually for the kids who were reciting the Bhagavad Gita yesterday. The reality of life, the pace of time blinded us a bit, and we had to interrupt the kids while they were reciting. And we wanted to get the program started because I know the audience were waiting for quite some time. So again, it was not meant to be disrespectful at all, just because they're kids. In fact, they know a lot more than probably many of us as adults. So again, that is something, I don't know if any of the kids are here who were there yesterday, but this was meant to them. And lastly, there were some logistical issues. We were all seated here in, I think, an 85 to 90 degree Fahrenheit room here. But that was fixed towards afternoon, particularly when the man who was sweating most, Rabbi Brill, was here on stage. I could see the joy on his face when the air conditioning started to blow here. So, but that's taken care, and today I don't think we should have any issues with those logistical challenges. Okay, like to invite the individuals to stage. Rabbi Brill, Please, Father Reddington, Srimati Meera Tadpatri and Keshwara Tadpatri, and Sri Yagna Subramaniam, please, Mani Mama, and oh, Mami Undakala, oh, sorry, please.
लक्ष्मीर्यस्य परिग्रहः कमलभूः सूनुर्गरुत्पान्दतः पौत्रश्चन्द्रविभूषणः सुरगुरुशेषश्च शय्या पुनः ब्रह्माण्डं वरमन्दिरं सुरगणाः यस्य प्रभोः सेवकाः सत्रैलोक्यकुटुम्बपालनपरः कुर्याद्धरिर्मङ्गलम् तदेव लग्नं सुदिनं तदेव ताराबलं चन्द्रबलं तदेव विद्याबलं दैवबलं तदेव लक्ष्मीपते ते घ्रियुगं स्मरामि मङ्गलं भगवान् विष्णुः मङ्गलं मधुसूदनः मङ्गलं देवकीपुत्रो मङ्गलं गरुडध्वजः सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके देवी नारायणि नमोऽस्तु ते अग्निं प्रज्वलितं वन्दे जातवेदं हुताशनं सुवर्णवर्णम् अनलं सविद्धं विश्वतोमुखम् Today's morning session. Most of our volunteers are really tired, getting in very late because of non-stop activities. Anyway, now let us start today's session with the Veda Ghosha and we'll proceed to listen on the discourses. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Samsamidhyovate Prachannabdhe Vishvaanyarya Ilaspate Samidhyate Sanovasunya Bhara Sangachadhvam Samvadadhvam Sambhavana Ansijanata Deva Bhagayatha Purve Sanjanana Upasate Savanantas Samitis Savani Savanam Manas Sahajittame Eshan Savanam Mantram Abhimantadeva Savane Navo Gavisha Ajugomi Savani Ako Otis Savana Hridajaniva Samanavattva Mano Yatha Avassu Zakasati Om Sahana Bhavatu Sagano Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Mahesh Harvu. So then our Dr. Subramaniam.
Beautiful virtual entity given to us called the intellect. Even in the Gita, if you see, the horses are like your sense object, the reins are your mind, and the charioteer is the intellect. And of course, desires are the one that lead the horses astray until and unless the reins are in control with the intellect. So we are very fortunate to have this entity called intellect embedded within us. And I would only think, as you can visit every single well and take out the impurities, but taste the purity of that well. This intellect allows us, in my opinion, that you can visit the different wells we have. One well may be called Judaism, one well may be called Christianity, one well may be called Vaishnavism, one well may be called Shaivism, whatever you want to call it. but we have the opportunity to visit different wells, take the good things out of those, and also have an appreciation of what they bring. Particularly important is to have that kind of a dialogue in this country, where probably people like me or you might not have been educated here. You had a different school system back in India or somewhere, but our kids go to school here. Our kids, we work in a society that is diverse. We work in a society where there are multiple faiths, multiple individuals from different backgrounds. It only makes sense if you're true to Krishna's message and to Swamiji's message of universality that you learn and respect each other. It reminds me of, Swamiji is not here, but it reminds me of a session that Swamiji and I went to Rutgers University, and there was a discourse happening and there was a Q&A dialogue happening, and a similar question popped up. And Swamiji very eloquently put it. He said, you should all be lawyers. You should be the judge. As a judge, you cannot prevent both sides from presenting their arguments. You have to listen to those arguments. It doesn't matter which argument it is, you have to listen. As a judge, you have to listen to that argument, and then you can make a judgment. But you should never prevent that argument from coming up, or from that discussion should coming up. It doesn't mean that you change what you stand for or your original value system. That can still be the same as you are. That should not be the force, though, is to prevent that. Good example of that, and I really respect Father Eddington and Rabbi Brill, actually a good reason why they're here, is Father Eddington hasn't changed him being a Jesuit, being a father, but did not prevent him from learning about Krishna, spending time in Udupi, spending time with Sri Bananja Govindacharya. As I said, he knew about our Swamiji even before we spoke. But doesn't mean he gave up Christianity. It doesn't mean he stopped being a priest. But he started learning about that. Same with Rabbi Brill, who spent time in Benares in the university, spent time learning about the customs there, trying to draw similarities, and then he came across. So hopefully that answers the question as to why we believe in a much more richer dialogue in this place. There's a few other topics, and I'll combine Ramanuja and other philosophies as I answer this. There's a few other topics that came. One was on being a vegetarian. Being a vegetarian. And Father Eddington, you may probably, it would be good in your panel discussion to answer this question as well. But if I remember my reading of the Bible, it was until the great floods occurred, really, the religion was against killing of animals. It was only after the great floods when there was a complete dearth of real plant-based food, for lack of a better word. That's when I think there was a permission given to go ahead and eat not live but dead animals. But again, you can clarify that in your panel discussion. I think the audience would help to learn from that. Then the question of reincarnation. After the talk yesterday, a few folks were discussing about reincarnation and the stand of Christianity and Judaism on that. And that reminded me again back, we don't have a Islamic speaker as we have Rabbi Brill and Father Eddington, but we'll do that next time. Rabbi Brill can touch upon Islam, but a deeper understanding, you need somebody. But if again there, if I remember well from the Quran, Surah 99 and 100, talks about reincarnation. And in the Islamic way of reincarnation starts and ends in this current life. They don't believe in a hell beyond or a heaven beyond the current life. Except once you die from this current world, you go back, God creates a barrier. And as we say, whether in Ramanuja's philosophy or Acharya Madhva's or Shankara's philosophy, when the pralaya and again the manifestation happens, that's when the soul gets the chance to take birth again. So the Islamic view of that is, okay, once I die, will I struggle in that waiting period, or will I be happy during that waiting period? So that was, I know we did not cover the Islamic view, wanted to make sure we cover that as well, yeah. Then this concept of how Ramanuja sees this existence, in this, how he sees his theology and philosophy. I do believe, I was saying this a few weeks ago, I do believe Ramanuja, in my opinion, Bhagavad Ramanuja, in my opinion, validated both Acharya Madhva's concept of Dvaitism and Shankara's concept of Advaitism. I really believe he did validate that. How did he validate that? And we touched upon it briefly yesterday. Because Ramanuja basically came up with the theory, and I quote this example of a mango. He came up with this philosophy of a mango in itself gives you the taste, the pleasant experience, when you can enjoy the whole mango and its pieces individually as well. So you enjoy, so if you just take out the skin and you peel out and you taste the mango, the skin of the mango in itself will not give you the entire sense experience. The core of the mango in itself does not give you that sense experience. The nice, softer, tissue-based content of the mango in itself does not give you that sense experience. But when you connect all of this, that's when you get the true taste of the mango. And you enjoy the mango thoroughly. So he came up with this philosophy, as you all probably know very well, Jivatma, Paramatma, there's only one Supreme, Jivatma, and for both of us to exhibit the brilliance of Paramatma, not the brilliance of Jivatma at all, the brilliance of Paramatma, you need a Prakriti. And without that Prakriti, you cannot showcase, you cannot demonstrate the brilliance of Paramatma. So there was equanimity in connecting these three things together. And that is where karma fits in as well, because from a karmic point of view, the goal or the purpose of life, which our philosophies, doesn't matter, Advaitism, Dvaitism or Vishishta Advaitism, really doesn't matter. The purpose of life spread by all these three philosophies is to get closer to that Paramatma. And this is where I think there is validation of Acharya Madhva's philosophy and Shankara's philosophy, because on one hand, when you become one with Paramatma, when you become very much attached to the Paramatma, you are in unison with the Paramatma, and at that point there is only one thing that's left in this world, and that is the ultimate Brahman. Or the ultimate, there's only one entity left in this universe. So, in my opinion, the great Shankara at the age of 32 years was beyond his time, was way beyond the comprehension of people at his time. People probably criticize that, but it's just unimaginable what he came up with at that time, much before anything preceded. And we have to credit Sri Shankara for starting this wave of discussion and continuation of this philosophy, of this, whether you call it Hinduism or Shaivism or Vaishnavism, whatever you want to call it. Continuation of that, because if it was not for him, there would not be a Ramanuja to study that and comment on it. There would not be Acharya Madhva to study that and comment on it. There would not be a Vallabha, there would not be any other Chaitanya or any of the other saints and seers who followed that. So I really believe he was way beyond his time, and my opinion of Advaitism is to look at it more from a unity of what I call as body consciousness and soul consciousness, not so much from a concept of illusion as people have been projecting his theory to be. It is more, he spoke from a unity of those two consciousness. And when those two unite, there is no duality. Everything becomes one. On a personal life, on a lighter tone, I feel nice to have Shankara's philosophy, because every time my wife says, hey, can you make some tea? I tell my son, Rohit, why don't you go and make some tea? Because I said, Shankara said there is no duality. Between father and son, there is no duality. You go do all the work on my behalf. So, on a lighter tone, I try to use that as well. But anyway, but I think really there's a richer meaning to that. Then Ramanuja's concept of Jivatma, Paramatma and Prakriti also, in my opinion, validates Acharya Madhva's theory of duality, because if it wasn't for this distinction, and if it wasn't for this concept that the whole universe is body of Paramatma, that was Ramanuja's philosophy. The whole universe is the body of Paramatma. Paramatma being the soul, the entire body being made up by this universe. You wouldn't have the dualistic nature in it. And the goal again is through bhakti and devotion get closer to that Paramatma. Which again validates that concept that in a daily operational life, we have this duality, and we covered this a little bit yesterday. We have this duality nature that constantly is surrounding us, and it makes it go in that direction. From a karmic aspect, back to the karma topic again, from a karmic aspect, there is a equanimity of all jivatmas, which is similar to what Lord Krishna speaks. I know Ramanuja took a lot from what he calls the Alvars, which were mystical saints that existed prior to him. But also it aligns with the concept described by Krishna, where each soul is unique and distinct, with all the right attributes and good attributes. And then the purpose of that soul over the years is the soul accumulates characteristics. Very important to note, soul accumulates characteristics through the modes of nature. We all know that probably by now, Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic, acquires through that. And what you acquire, what modes or characteristics you attract, determines your karma. So from a karmic point of view, the goal is, he uses phrases like Shesha, Sheshi, servant, master, supporter, supported. He uses all of these different terminology to say, at the end of the day, our purpose of life, and from a morality point of view, is to be the servant of that Lord and be at his feet, without whom we all become freestanding and we lose our balance and there's no way we can stand. So it's only when he can support us are we capable of doing anything and everything. And then there is also the micro and the macro theory of karma, which is again in alignment with what Bhagavad Gita says. Krishna is not sitting there thinking, managing every micro aspect of your life. He's not sitting there saying, are you doing this, are you doing that? He's not. And that is the beauty, as Krishna also says, is I've given you the power of freedom. People commonly ask, why would God not why would God not prevent a World Trade Center bombing? Why would not God prevent a killing or some random shooter coming and killing people? Because God doesn't control all those micro elements of your day-to-day activity. He has given you freedom. At the same time, He does say, though, as we strongly believe, right, in our philosophies, that there is a cause and effect, and that then there is and Swamiji eloquently said again, when that effect will happen, you cannot predict. It could be in this life, it could be in some other life. So that theory is very consistent there, that God doesn't manage our day-to-day micro activities. He is more at the macro level, and the day-to-day freedom of choice is for yours to validate and not misuse it. And one checks and balance for that is the aspect of karma, where again karma is supported by the right knowledge, and unless knowledge accompanies karma, it doesn't become intelligent action. Very eloquently then, he goes on to talks about the ways by which a person can go into righteous action. And like the way Lord Krishna gave in the Bhagavad Gita, he suggests 4 steps. Much of it overlaps. Any of our philosophers overlap with Bhagavad Gita. I mean, it's not like they came up with anything that's not already prescribed. It was their interpretation. As they say, by the way, nothing in this world is invented. Everything existed. We just uncover it. So we may call it an invention, but if it wasn't already there, how would you even bring it up? So similarly, all our acharyas made sure that they could uncover the right pieces of the different Vedic scriptures to put one element of it. So Bhagavad Ramanuja suggests this 4-step level of spiritual maturity. The first step there is where you are on a very lower plane. On the lower plane, you are very much bound by your senses, your sense organs and your senses. Your senses and sense organs are fully in control. Your mind's a victim to it. I see a sweet, and I just go and grab it on an autopilot mode. I can't control myself. So that's really the first step of what you call spiritual maturity. Why is it spiritual? Why is that first step even spiritual? The fact that you are able to now pause and at least think about the fact that yes, I am going there and grabbing my sweet itself puts you on the path of spiritual maturity. That is why it is still considered to be the first step, where the sense organs are in command and the mind is kind of secondary. Then you go to the next level of maturity, where now you start recognizing and discriminating. Shankara has written a whole thesis around the element of discrimination, which is unbelievable. But there is an element of discrimination that you apply, where now you start to understand what the role of the sense organs are and what the role of the mind and intellect is. And that's where you say now the mind is working in tandem with the sense organs. So you are taking an action, you are observant of that action, you see what you can do to change the course of that action. Sometimes you do succeed, sometimes you don't. And so now you've started to put your mind into work. Neurologists in recent years have done a fantastic experience around this, and that's where you have heard about this right brain and the left brain philosophy. And also, neurologists and scientists have come up with this fight and flight syndrome. Because we are reptilian creatures, back to the ancestral kind of thinking, if you, from a neurological scientific point of view, according to that theory. I'm not saying the philosophical Vedantic theory is that, but from that theory, the reptiles and the single cell or the multi-cell organisms have a fight and flight syndrome. That is why even a snake doesn't attack you right away. It first tries to run away, but when you don't leave it any choice, it tries to attack you. So there's either a fight, or there's a flight or a fight. And that is more of not of a logical response, it's an emotional response. Any animal for that matter, it first tries to flee, not come in your way, but if you come in its way, it tries to fight it out. It doesn't realize if it's a big animal or a small animal. It doesn't have the mental intellect to say, can I really overpower this individual or not? All it knows is I can fight this person. So science has come up, which I think is real fascinating. They've said, look, fight or flight is what determines there. But over the years, the human being has developed the prefrontal cortex here, which is why our heads have become bigger. Our heads have shrunk in many ways, but our prefrontal cortex, as you meditate and as you increase, the size of it becomes bigger, where you now develop the ability of analytical thinking, of more logical thinking. And Ramanuja said this, which is, that is the intellect. So in the third stage of maturity, you put your intellect to work. And that is what scientists are really confirming as well, hey, whenever you take an action, if you put your analytical thinking into place, the prefrontal cortex, you take a more rational action. You take a more rational, which means you can overcome the fight or flight syndrome. That's what happens at the third stage of maturity. So if you think about it, first stage of maturity, the sense organs are in command. Second stage of maturity, the senses and the mind are starting to work together. The third stage of maturity, mind is now taking the front seat, senses are taking the back seat. The fourth stage of maturity, which aligns perfectly well with Shankara's philosophy as well as Acharya Madhva's philosophy, is in a complete state of bhakti and devotion, and in a complete state of unanimity and non-duality. All you're left now is your intellect being in complete command, and at will, this is very important, at will, you can come out or go into that mode. You can come out or go into that mode, which is why yogis and sannyasis and spiritual saints can sit in a meditative state for hours without even being disturbed by all the commotion that happens next to them. Which is why my own guru, Sri Guru Raghavendra Swami, was able to take samadhi when he was alive. You go into a meditative state where your mind and intellect is in complete control and disconnected from the senses and the sense organs. That is the fourth state of spiritual maturity that is recommended, and that is what Ramanuja also suggests. That touches the aspect of karma. Now I'll quickly touch into the aspect of Sharanagati and Prapatti, and then we will have Sri Agni Subramanianji take over. From a concept of Sharanagati and Prapatti, the aspect is very straightforward. Again, aligns well with, which is why I keep saying it validates Shankara's theory and Acharya Madhva's theory. Ramanuja had a very simple concept. He said, Swamiji said as well yesterday, the Supreme can only be one. And if the Supreme is only one, things become very clear. If I go into a supermarket, if I have only one product, I know what product that is. I don't need to be cluttered with hundreds of products in a supermarket. I just go pick up that one product and be there, and I know that's the only product available in the supermarket. Ramanuja's theory was the same. There's only one Supreme. That Supreme, he called it to be Narayana. And he said Narayana is not limited to one particular caste or creed. In fact, from a karmic point of view, you can be a Brahman, you can be a Vaishya, you can be a Kshatriya, you can be a Shudra in your day-to-day activity. From that theory and karmic concept. How is that possible? When you are spending time learning and understanding, whether it's the scriptures or your day-to-day things that go around you, that could be the more operational aspects of life. When you invest time in it and when you learn about it, you are exhibiting Brahmanic skills, which is what even the Gita says. Gita was never casteist. One professor from the Christianic faith asked me one day, hey, isn't Gita very racist? I said, yes, it is, depending on how you look at the perspective of it. But it is actually never intended, neither is it racist if you understand truly what was being conveyed. It is more economical than any other thing. So you can be exhibiting Brahmanical traits when you're spending time, investing time in learning. And then when you are protecting that, executing it, that's when you're demonstrating the Kshatriya skills. And when you are spending time to grow it, to trade that skill for something else. I learned this, let me pass on that message to you, and let me learn from you as well. It's like every single day I feel I learn more from kids than probably they are learning from me, because as you watch kids, you learn a lot from them. So it is that trade that happens subtly or deliberately. And when you're doing that trade, you are exhibiting what we call as the trader skills, the Vaishya skills. And when you then start running that on a day-to-day basis, putting it on an autopilot mode, putting it in a more day-to-day activity, you are exhibiting the last category of skills. So Ramanuja really felt when it comes to Sharanagati or Prapatti, You need to have all those 4 skills, which is why when his guru shared with him the most sacred mantra, Om Namo Narayanaya, he went on top of the temple and he just announced it to everyone in the world. He said, so what if my guru said that? If that mantra is really useful, why not the whole world learn about it? And he just went and he announced it for everyone to follow. So, and that is where he says, from a Sharanagati, don't make your life very complex. There's only one Supreme. All you got to do is surrender to that Supreme. It is that famous story of a cat holding the kitten or a monkey holding tight to its mother monkey. I mean, the cat holds the kitten in its mouth and walks. The kitten has no fear if the mother cat will drop. On the other hand, the baby monkey has to hold that very tight. Both cases you could say it is achieved. Ramanuja says, you know what? Let Krishna be the parent. Let Narayana be the parent. Just surrender onto him. He's going to take care of it for you. And follow the 4 steps of spiritual maturity, where you focus on executing it and not worry about what you call as good or bad. Because there is nothing called good or bad. All you have is an outcome. Everything is an outcome. It could be good, you could call that outcome good, or you could call that outcome bad. For a kid in Somalia, not having 1 meal a day is a problem. For us, that's not the problem. We have more than plenty of food at home that we throw in the garbage. For us, it is the traffic on 287 which is a problem. So that's the issue for us. Whereas for the kid there, that's not the problem at all. So what is good or bad is relative. All you have is an outcome. And I'm a firm believer, and I wrote this as well in my books, I'm a firm believer that Krishna has really, I believe in Narayana and Krishna, so I really follow the Bhagavad Gita. So for me, he's only supreme. For me, Narayana or Krishna gave us a GPS. Because think about it, he gave you the freedom to act, number 1. The Acharyas have helped us define the pathways. Whether it's Bhagavad Ramanuja, Shankara, or Acharya Madhva, they have defined the pathways, and that's why they are called Acharyas. They have defined the pathways. And Krishna has given us a guru. Depends on who you select as the guru. The guru is one who is nothing but a mirror for you. Doesn't say you're right or wrong, just shows what path you're standing on. So you have a guru. Then he has given us teachers who don't really want to change you, but instruct you on what should be done. It's up to you whether you adopt it or not. So you have a Paramatma who has given you the freedom. You have the freedom to select an Acharya. Trust me, forget Madhva, Ramanuja, Shankara, the differences. Pick one of these Acharyas, you'll be light years ahead of where you are. So just pick one of them and you'll be much better. So he has given us an Acharya. And then he has said, you know what, you have the freedom to pick a guru. And then you have so many teachers that you can learn from. When you have all this in place, surrendering at the feet of Lord becomes a no-brainer. Once you learn all of this, and then you can surrender to Him, and that is where, even if you are not a master at the Vedas, master at any Upanishads, or master at Gita as well, all you need is a single connection, a very powerful connection indeed, to that Supreme. That's all you need. Which is why this temple is an unbelievable place. If you haven't done it, please come and just sit for 20 minutes in front of Krishna here, and then just focus on it, meditate on it, or watch one of the evening pujas when Sri Yogendra Ji performs or Swami Ji performs. There won't be people picking up the phones and everything while they're doing the puja. There's a single-minded devotion going on to the Lord. All you can do is come there at that point and connect to that devotion that they are exhibiting to Krishna, and you will align with that thought process. And that is the moment when you obtain Charanagati, Prapatti, salvation or liberation. So salvation and liberation, or Sharanagati, however you want to call it, in my opinion, is not an after-death experience. It is what happens every moment. Every moment you have a choice to make. Are you surrendering? Are you obtaining moksha and Sharanagati every single moment? When the body consciousness meets the soul consciousness, you are in a state of Sharanagati. When the body consciousness is away from the soul consciousness, you are being diverted by the desires that get created. So you have a choice, because I don't know, maybe you know it, I don't know what happens after I die. I have no clue. So I don't know about the next life. All I know is what's happening now. All I can decide is what I can do now. As much as I believe in reincarnation, why do I believe in reincarnation? Not to take this on a tangent, why do I believe in reincarnation? In addition to what Bhagavad Gita says, what Krishna says and everything, just look at if I look at the picture I was when I was a kid and now, look how I grow, how my cells regenerate every single day, how my body regenerates every single day. If that is not a proof of reincarnation, what else is it? We are reincarnating every single moment, every single day. Otherwise, why would we become old? So, from a bodily point of view, you are reincarnating. From a spiritual point of view, from a soul point of view, you are reincarnating. It happens every single moment. So, it's not so much about what happens after you die. It's not so much about are you leading a spiritual experience after death. It is about are you leading a spiritual experience while you're alive. That matters most. Krishna Arpanamastu.